From some key committees, Dianne Feinstein is facing calls from some in her own party to resign.
Fox 40 Capitol reporter Eitan Wallace joining us now live with who's asking her to step down as a key Northern California congressman. Eitan is now coming to her defense.
Absolutely, Nikki, and that congressman is John Garamendi, Democrat here of Northern California. He says Feinstein should not have to resign, and no surprise, she agrees. She does not want to step down, but she does acknowledge she's been away from Washington due to medical reasons, and that's why she says now she's come up with her own solution. She's California's senior senator, a powerful position Democrat Dianne Feinstein has held since 1992. But now some colleagues from her side of the aisle are calling for her to resign as she continues what so far has been a nearly 2-month recovery from shingles at her home in San Francisco.
While Senator Feinstein has had an extraordinary, distinguished career, she's simply unable now to fulfill her duties.
In an exclusive interview with News Nation and The Hill, Fremont Congressman Ro Khanna says Feinstein has missed important votes in the Senate where Democrats hold a very narrow majority. But more than that, he says, he's especially concerned about her absence from the Senate Judiciary Committee in charge of approving judges President Biden nominated to serve on federal courts.
It's sad to see. It's sad to see her in this state where she is missing votes, where we're not being able to confirm judges because of her absence in the Judiciary Committee. And I just think we should have someone in that role who can do the job right now.
But Feinstein, who announced earlier this year she will not seek re-election in 2024, makes clear right now she is not resigning and is instead asking Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to appoint another Democrat to the Judiciary Committee. As for Feinstein's work representing California in the nation's capital, she had this to say, quote, "I intend to return as soon as possible once my medical team advises that it's safe for me to travel. In the meantime, I remain committed to the job and will continue to work from home in San Francisco."
She should not resign, and no one should call upon her to resign.
Longtime Northern California Congressman John Garamendi says Feinstein should serve out the remainder of her term.
If somebody were to replace her in the next 20 months, they would get nothing done. But Feinstein brings that gravitas. She brings that experience. She brings that friendship to the issues that are critical over these next 20 months. We need her. We need her, and she needs our respect.
Even so, should Feinstein decide to one day resign, the power would then fall on Governor Gavin Newsom to appoint a new senator, something he already did with Alex Padilla.
This is another place where Governor Newsom could really leave his mark and really drive the direction of the Senate potentially for years to come.
And we reached out to Newsom, but his office did not have a direct comment specifically on this. They did, however, give us another comment that he gave a few months ago, a previous comment in which he praised Feinstein. Now, as for the Senate Judiciary Committee, well, the senator, the chairman in charge of that committee, Dick Durbin, he says that he wants to get the ball rolling on nominees, but to do that, he needs to find a temporary replacement for Feinstein. And Nikki, you surely know this very well, that to do that, it's not going to be easy because they need at least 60 votes, not just from Democrats there, but approval also at least from some Republicans.
And we know that Republicans don't want to do that. And you touched on it in your story, too, when you were talking to Loyola Law professor Jessica Levinson. This could be a historic appointment if Feinstein were to step down, Eitan, and Gavin Newsom would get another appointment. He had plenty of those. But it's also important to point out that in the pandemic, when he was asked about this after appointing Alex Padilla, he said if he was given another option, he would appoint a black woman. That has been a topic of this Senate race, as you know, and could create some issues, too, because you've been covering the Senate race. We have Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, and Barbara Lee, and this could potentially tip an election, right?
Absolutely. This could definitely tip an election, Nikki. And you know, when I spoke to Barbara Lee last week just about her Senate race, about her candidacy, she made this clear that right now, as of now that Kamala Harris is vice president and now that she's out of the U.S. Senate, that the U.S. Senate does not have any black women in the Senate. So this could surely tip an election. And that's why I think, as Professor Levinson said at the very end there, a lot of power now falls on Newsom if, and that big question is if Feinstein ultimately resigns. But Feinstein making very clear right now, at least, she will not resign. Nikki?
You always say it so perfectly, Eitan. If. That is the key word here. If she does decide to resign. Right now, all we have is a member of Congress who is calling for her to resign. Our Eitan Wallace joining us now live from the state capitol. Always good to talk to you, my friend. Thanks so much.